Yeah.
You know, we back at it.
Back at it.
Fresh off the beach. Straight in here to record for y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Get to it. This was hot. This was really
It was
hot.
it was kind of like a high priority.
Had to get in here and do it.
Cause there's how do you pronounce that? Is it Vivek Ramaswamy? Vivek?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he was on the Breakfast Club, and y'all all know for ones that don't know, who don't watch kind of like hip hop kind of stuff. There's a show called The Breakfast Club, and
Breakfast Club.
It's called The Breakfast Club, and they're a little bit more. You know, when I look at them now versus when I look now, I notice I'm like, man, these guys. You know, this show is really left leaning and it's left centered focus. Because when you go right, you can see what the left looks like. And Vivek Ramaswamy is doing an interview with them, and from what I'm hearing, that he kind of just shuts everybody up because they don't have a clue. It's about the left. It's about, and I guess they're assuming that.
And I bet too they didn't do much research.
And I think the whole.
I bet you they didn't do no research.
I think the movement of the left is dying. Okay. I feel like that's dying. I feel like now people are waking up.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So we're gonna do this, man. He's talking about, because you know he's gonna run. He's running for president. He also talking about leadership, civil duty, and affirmative action, and more. So I'm gonna see what they talk about on this show. But I know they're about to get roasted because Ramaswamy be like he know his stuff, be on point. So if you don't know your stuff, then it's gonna really make you look crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's go.
Is with us this morning.
I can't wait to see you attempt this name.
And we got a special guest in the building, Vivek Ramaswamy. Did I say it right?
That's actually pretty good. It's better than most hosts. Yeah, it's like Ramaswamy, like CD-ROM, but yeah.
What I said, Ramaswamy.
Yeah, you got it.
Ramaswamy. Well, good morning.
Good to see you guys.
How you
Good
feeling?
to see you too.
Feeling good, guys.
You're running for president.
I am.
Running for president. Yeah, you're actually polling third behind Trump and DeSantis right now.
Wow.
Did not know that.
A distant third.
A distant third.
A distant third, yes.
I was about to say the third from second is huge, but what do you think you need to do to close that gap?
I mean, most people in this country do not know who I am. So against that backdrop, the fact that I'm ahead of a vice president and a bunch of U.S. senators and a former U.S. ambassador and governors is honestly ahead of where I expected to be right now. Mm-hmm. Our goal was to be in third by the end of the year. And then you have the Iowa caucus, and then you have the New Hampshire primary. And the fact that you go those early states in order makes it possible for an outsider like me to actually do this, because we spend a lot of time getting to know people in those states. And so it's going to be a steady process. The debates, I think, are pretty key. They start in August. I'm qualified for the debate stage already. I tend to like settings where we're debating, so hopefully that goes well. And we'll see where this takes us.
Does anybody who's not a white male really stand a chance of being a Republican?
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think that there is
They don't seem like they're open to that kind of diversity.
But they said that same thing on the same kind of thinking was on the Democratic side. Nobody ever thought they were going to see a black man be a president. So it's the same thing on the Republican side. Republican side were easy, open up to a black man, Ramaswamy, or Tim Scott. Yes, no question. But there's a order of things that need to go first, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you. I travel the country. I have not really experienced meaningful racism from grassroots conservative audiences for the last, several years that I've been, since I stepped down from my business career. That was a different world I was in. But for my book tours and everything else, and then now for this campaign, traveling the country, it's funny. That's the impression that you get from the media. Meeting people from Iowa, Ohio, Michigan, New Hampshire, I don't see that at all. In fact, I just see a hunger for substance, ideas, what's actually going to make the country better.
Let's go.
Actually, I'm very encouraged by that. And I think that more people should. I mean, I used to live here in New York as well. And I'm not saying this about you guys, but I remember for me, you get trapped in a bubble. When we get out of that bubble.
I'm going to South Carolina.
Well,
Right.
perfect. Well, South Carolina. When did you grow up there?
My whole life. I didn't move to New York till 2006. So I understand exactly
2006.
what you're saying.
But I actually think a lot of what I'm saying is specific to. I think the country is in a different place today even than it was in the 90s and 2000s. I grew up in
most
Southwest
definitely.
Ohio in the 1990s.
Yeah.
Very different environment than it is today. But anyway, I mean it as a good note. I don't think that there's some sort of racist obstacle in the mind of Republican primary voters. Actually, if you look at the Republican field, even some of those other people on that poll you were mentioning, I mean, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, go down the list. I mean, there's even others as well. Larry Elder, black man's running. I mean, I think we'll see who ends up succeeding. But whoever it is, I don't think it's going to be a racial bias that holds me back.
Why should people vote for you?
Yeah, so I'm somebody who
See, Envy look like, to me, I feel like Charlamagne would be more like, listen, Envy seemed like he already got his mind set.
And I mean, yeah, Charlamagne so far seems to be open.
A little bit more open.
is coming in as an outsider to the system. And I think in the White House, when it comes to the White House, if we really want to reform a lot of the corruption in government, it is going to take an outsider to get that job done.
I believe
I'm
that.
37. I'm the first millennial ever to run for president as a Republican. And I think I have a view on our generation of what's going on in the country, where we are all so hungry for a cause, for purpose and meaning and identity. But the things that used to give us that sense of purpose, faith, patriotism, family, hard work, these things are out.
Yeah, correct.
And that's why we latch on to
And this is
fill in the blank. I mean, in conservative circles, a lot of us will point to wokeism, gender ideology, the climate cult, COVIDism. But you could fill in the blank with depression, anxiety, drug use,
tell him.
suicide.
Get him.
Yes.
Get him.
I think these are symptoms of a deeper hunger for purpose and meaning in our country. And so in some ways, I'm running as a member of my generation to say that we can fill that void with the things that actually give us real purpose. Revive family in America. That's actually a big part of my platform.
So far, he's crushing it.
Let's
What allowed me
go.
to achieve success. My parents gave me a great family foundation. I didn't grow up in money. We're trying to give that to my two kids as well. I want that to be enjoyed by Americans across the country. Belief in the country, national pride. Less than 16% of Gen Z even says they're proud to be an American. I'm not making this one up. This is about a month ago. There was a good survey. 60% of young Americans said that they would sooner give up their right to vote than to give up access to TikTok or other social media.
Wow.
That's a problem. So I think we have a crisis of national pride.
Whose
People
fault
are
is that, though? That's America's fault. That's
It
the
is.
system's fault for constantly failing the people.
Well, you know, I see it. I see it less about. We can allocate the blame. We can talk about allocating the blame. I think there's blame to go around. I think it's up to all of us to take a long, hard look in the mirror
That's right.
and ask ourselves,
That's right.
what is that vacuum in our heart? It's an old saying that goes, if there's a hole the size of God in your heart and God does not fill it, something else will instead.
That's
I think
right.
the same applies for belief in a nation as well.
I mean,
He got. Hey,
He's
let me.
dropping bars
I'm gonna
here.
tell you something.
he's dropping bars.
I don't know now. After Trump, I will. I Ramaswamy. I think I'm gonna say Ramaswamy over DeSantis, 100%,
Okay.
and then Tim Scott, and then DeSantis.
So I think what's going on is we're human beings. What makes us different from animals is that we can believe. We need to believe in something bigger than ourselves.
That's right.
And when we lose God and family and country, we start believing in new false gods instead.
Ooh.
That's what's
Speak
going
it.
on in the country. And so I
better
don't know that
say
it's
it.
so much a question of fault, but more a question of how do we actually revive our sense of
Oh, no,
self-confidence
it's
and
definitely
pride.
a question of fault.
No, but see, people on the left want to have to blame someone versus looking at themselves.
They need somebody to blame.
And you know, everybody is a participating. Not everybody. I take that back. But many people are participating citizens in society.
Yeah.
So what is your contribution?
Correct.
Now we know that we vote certain people in office and they have a bigger role, but we are the ones that vote them in. But what are we doing to vote them in?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can absolutely blame white supremacy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
See, say more, and then I'll respond to that.
I mean, just look at the history of the country.
Oh
Like,
my
it's
God.
really
I
just that
forgot.
simple.
I just have to remember that. It just makes me think about, wow, I used to agree with Charlamagne and Envy on this kind of thinking. Now I look at this thinking as dated, dilapidated, and just tired.
The country has never fulfilled its promises of freedom, liberty, and justice for all.
That's
It's
not
always been-
true.
Look where you're sitting now. You're a multimillionaire. Shut up, fool. You look at all your books on the back. Man, stop.
That's
What you
not
mean?
true.
What you
That's not
mean?
true.
Look where he's sitting. Look where you having a dialogue talking about that as a rich black man. Bruh, quit it.
Freedom, liberty, and justice for some. And usually that some is white people.
So here's what I would say in response to that. That is obviously true that the nation has fallen short of our promise since our founding. But walk through some obvious facts about America. We're not founded on an ethnicity or a monarch or a food or even a religion. We're founded on a set of ideals. that brought a group of people together in 1776, and we live by those ideals. At least we aspire to those ideals today. A nation that aspires to ideals that's not made up of gods, but made up of human beings,
Let's go.
will always fall short of those ideals.
Yeah.
So I think our worst hypocrisies as a country, and we have many of them, our worst hypocrisies are our best evidence that we have ideals at all. You take a look at other countries. Nobody ever calls the Chinese Communist Party a hypocrite, or China a hypocrite, or Iran a hypocrite. Why is that? Because to be a hypocrite, you at least had to have ideals in the first place.
But a lot of
And
those
so we're
ideals-
imperfect, but we are about the pursuit of a more perfect union, the pursuit of happiness. America's about the pursuit. And so I think
Are
that
we,
trashing
though?
ourselves, I think we
The
are,
only reason I
actually.
say that is because, you know, we never were included in those ideals originally.
You right that, though.
Yeah.
But never and not originally are two different things. Originally, that's true.
Yeah.
Over 250 years of progress, if you had somebody who was in 1870 looking at the world we live in today, if you had somebody in 1960 who was looking at the world we live in today as it relates to race in America, we would be darn close to what they would have thought of as the promised land.
Yeah,
so I
correct.
think we have to recognize that America is about that pursuit.
So
That's
leave the
right.
We're a lot
past.
further along than we were 250 years ago.
Yes.
And here's the other thing, too. We got to set our expectations. We will always fall short of our ideals.
That's
By
right.
definition, if there are human beings and not gods living in a nation that aspires to ideals, we are fallen. Man
Yep.
is fallen.
Yep.
That's what makes us who we are.
Yep.
But what also makes us different from animals is that we have ideals. So America's founded on our humanity. That we can believe and aspire to something that we will still fall short of. That's what makes this country beautiful. And that's why that's why I'm in this. You ask me, why am I in this? I care about reviving pride in that nation, because if we get into the habit of just bashing that country, what are we bashing? We're bashing the last best hope that man has for aspiring to those ideals. Tell me
That's
who else has
right.
done better. I'll wait.
I don't think I'm bashing the country. I think I'm bashing the system. mostly.
Okay.
I want to change. I want to change the system. That's what
Well,
I think.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm with you on changing the system. It's
And what-
what brings me into this.
And what's your thoughts on some of the people that you're running against, Donald Trump and DeSantis? What are your thoughts on them and their leadership and what they've done for the country so far?
You know, I think everybody's made their respective contributions. I respect some things about what each of them have done. I think the Republican Party, I tell this to conservative audiences all the time, obsesses over the question of the who. You know, Ronna McDaniel, she was the chair of the Republican Party versus somebody else, or Kevin McCarthy or somebody else, or Donald Trump or somebody else. This is a superficial discussion versus actually just taking a step back, and the Republican Party does not do this enough. What do we stand for, and why do we stand for it? Actually, a lot of my criticisms are also directed at the fact that we define ourselves, when I say we, I'm running as a Republican, but as a party in opposition to something. All right, that's what Joe Biden did. That's what the radical left does. And race, gender, sexuality, climate. I'm opposed to a lot of these ideologies of identity, but the right falls into the trap of just saying we're not those things, and then we'll fight about which biographies win. Oh, I'm actually a bigger and more accomplished person than you, and I'm going to sling mud at you, versus asking the question of what do we actually stand for?
He
But-
is.
It's about individual.
But wait, don't both parties do that? The left is just as bad about that as the right. I think it's.
But no,
it's-
the left is more accepting of all those things that he named versus
No, I'm just saying he says that, the right is, okay, in more opposition to versus.
Oh, okay.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But I think both parties do that.
let's hear him through.
Okay.
Hit the play button. You didn't stop.
Okay. Chocolate.
Individual, family, nation, God. You can agree or disagree, but at least that's a vision that's different from a vision of identity grounded on race and gender and sexuality and climate. And so that's a long way
Yep.
of saying, I guess, what I see is deficient in the field, and entire Republican field, including candidates you mentioned, is they're all running from something. And I'm in this race because I want us to run to something.
What is that something?
A vision of what it means to be American. Okay? Revive the ideals of 1776. Revive the truth, meritocracy, excellence, freedom of speech, rule of law. A radical idea. This is not a Democrat or Republican idea, that the people we elect to run the government ought to at least be the ones who actually run the government.
Right.
That's not the case today. You want to talk about fixing the system. You want to talk about one of the myths where we fall short of our ideals. We're taught in school that we have 3 branches of government. They're irrelevant compared to who actually runs the government. It's a 4th branch of government of 3-letter agencies in Washington, D.C. That is a formula for corruption.
Wow.
Corruption we get. That's
Wow.
a system we need to break down.
Who's those 3?
I mean, you could go down the list. SEC, FDA, EPA, TSA, the tens of thousands of government bureaucrats working in Washington, D.C., they're the ones who actually make the laws.
He's saying
It's
something.
not
Let's
Congress.
go.
And that's a formula. And those people aren't elected. Nobody elected them. They're protected by these what are called civil service protections, which means even the president, technically, under many people's beliefs, can't fire them. That's the permanent state, what many in the right will call the deep state. I think that's a problem.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is
that
a
falls
problem.
short
It is a
of our
problem.
ideals.
That is.
I think the same FBI that threatened Martin Luther King with suicide on the back of incorrectly collected tapes is now committing, I would say, hypocrisy and corrupt actions against people of a different political persuasion that the FBI doesn't like today. I just think it's a formula for corruption when you have unelected bureaucrats that are actually setting policy. But that's a detail compared to my point, which is we need to revive the ideals that the nation was actually founded on and do a better job of aspiring to them.
And we have
That's
Teslin
right.
Figaro. I'm sure Teslin has some questions.
Oh,
Tez,
my
you
God.
good?
Yes, I do. So I
I already know now. Like I saw just a little bit of that part in the car. It just seemed like man, I wish we just skipped through her part, be honest with you, but I need to play it.
I've heard a lot of, what you think and your vision, and I'm a very practical person, and I want to kind of, opposed to talking about your opponents, let's talk about you for a moment, and let's actually talk about your policy. Explain to me your position on this civic duty voting.
Sure. So my position is I think that every kid who graduates from high school should know the minimums about the country that we require an immigrant to know about the country in order to become a citizen.
Okay.
So there's a test. My mom had to pass it. Every immigrant has to pass it to this country that asks you some basic questions. What are the three branches of government? What branch of government does the U.S. president lead? Some basic questions about what is the Bill of Rights. It's like a multiple choice exam, or some of them you write in. I think that if we're going to ask immigrants to pass that test, as we should, I think every 18-year-old who graduates from high school should have to pass that as well, because young people, it goes back to that issue of pride. You don't value a country that you don't know something about.
Yeah.
You don't
Right.
value something
Yeah.
you inherit.
Yeah.
So true.
You
Yeah.
value something you have a stake in creating, in building, or knowing
That's
something about.
right.
Yep.
So how do we think big about this? Well, young people, as I told you, most of them, very few of them vote as it stands today. Super small numbers. And apparently 60% of them say they would rather give up their right to vote than give up TikTok. Well, I say, all right, let's take that to the next level. How about we do something that raises the voting age from 18 to 25, but you still get to vote at 18 if you just pass that same civics test that an immigrant has to pass in order to vote. And tests aren't for everybody, so be it. Then you at least serve in the military or a first responder role for 6 months. That's my civic duty voting proposal. And the reason is, I'll actually make a prediction. I think youth voting in this country will skyrocket. From a very low level right now, it will skyrocket because you value something you actually have to earn. And I think that this is not a left-wing or right-wing point. We all have duties as citizens, right? We aspire to free market capitalism, right? Materialist advance. And that's the life I've lived as well, by the way. My parents came to this country with not a lot of money. I've lived the American dream. I've made a lot of money by building businesses. That's one side of what it means to be an American. But part of it is we also have duties to this country. And I think the more we wake that up, actually, the voting age only became 18 in 1971 in the context of the
Right.
Vietnam draft. So I just
So,
think
I think
reviving
you're
those
asking-
ideas is
I
going to
think
be
you're
good for
asking
us.
a lot. So
Yeah.
let's prove your point. Nick, our camera guy, do you know the
Oh,
three
how
branches of
rude.
federal
It's
government?
over 24, so it don't.
See, envy. What I feel like, I really promise you, man. I feel like envy is Slowball's side being a hater because he feels some type of way about Republicans, and that's what just hit the spirit of it. Just feels like
Don't be rude.
But I'm just saying, but nobody knows there are 24. Red, do you know the three branches?
Executive.
now. See, that was dumb on you.
Well, that's
Now
your
that was dumb
fault.
on you.
That's your
I
stupid
wouldn't
fault.
I wouldn't even ask that
Yes,
question.
you learned that in middle school. You learned that in middle school.
Oh,
And they may
I-
even teach you in a little part of social studies, but I know I learned that in middle school. It's social studies.
I wouldn't have asked that question on the show. I
And
would have
if
been.
not, at least high school. Come on, bro.
Look at his face.
I mean,
Well, I got a test. I got a
See what I'm
test.
saying? It's-
I would like to see if you're willing to pass, because I believe in, just as you believe in civic engagement, I believe in changing the ideas of what political opponents look like, what they should look like, or political candidates. Are you willing to take the
but
test?
what gives you the right to want to change an idea of a political
And who is
candidate?
she?
Yeah, you're not classified to do that.
But who is she?
But what gives you the classification and the knowledge base, the authority to want to change what a political candidate looks like? Do you have enough information? Are you versed in that?
Yeah.
What's your background?
Who is she?
I don't know.
With me quickly, because I just have a couple of questions for you.
I will,
so-
absolutely.
so just-
and the way this is opening up, I have a feeling I'm about to fail it, but that's good. Let's do it.
That's right. Yeah. Just for clarity, I am an
I
independent.
can't
I'm
stand
not a Democrat
people.
or a
I can't
Republican.
stand people who
And then she said
have
she's
just a little bit of information and want to and they want to take authority and want to be nasty.
Joy, you said ugh.
A little information. I got a good feeling. I'm gonna be roasting her before we get through
And
this.
she said
40
she's an independent. She's not Democrat or Republican. So why are you
Okay.
even talking?
I mean, let's see.
Looking,
Cool.
I think that's important for the premise of the argument, because I know you did a lot of debating at Harvard. It's also, I also want to make it clear that these are the same questions that I asked liberal Democrat Marianne Williamson. So I want to make sure that we put that out there as well, just
Fair
to kind
enough.
of set the foundation
I'm
for the
open
test.
to being humbled. Let's do this.
Okay, great. Let's go. So you mentioned, the pride of being an American and how important it is to have pride in this country. I'm also a veteran, by the way,
Thank you.
for the United States Air Force. So when is it that you voted for the first time?
I voted in 2020.
Okay, so you're how old again?
I'm 37 years old.
So for how many years you sat around and did not get involved at all in any civic engagement? Is that my understanding?
A long time is the answer. And actually, that's what I wrote this book about. I'm not holding myself out as some sort of model. I'm actually offering myself as a self-reflection of my journey as a citizen, to whom this country has given much, right? As an adult, when you have kids, it changes your perspectives. I'm very honest about that.
And see, that's what makes it even more wanting to vote for a person like him, because he said, I'm being truthful. I learned, and this is what I'm telling y'all, young people. Look, I just learned this. So this is why y'all should go ahead and vote.
But what does his input or activity or involvement in civic engagement have to do with anything?
Yeah.
Before the president that we have now, who is straight ripping the country and being and is corrupt, his whole team
He even probably been voting since he was 18.
has been involved in politics for what they say over 40 years.
Yeah.
So what in the Sam Hill does that have to do with anything?
Good question.
And the previous president that was running the country, we were in the best condition. He had no political background.
Yeah. So that let me know. You know what I'm saying?
What in the Sam Hill is she talking
I
about?
think I'd rather vote for somebody who doesn't have a background in politics. You know.
that means nothing to me.
Absolutely.
Okay, no problem. So let's go deeper into the self-reflection. So you've sat around for, and sir,
Sat
I'm
around.
as well as I possibly can. Please don't take anything.
What is sat
the
And you
wrong
don't even
around?
way.
have to
I
be.
just-
And you don't even
yeah.
have to be. So
But
take
why
it
you
off and
saying
let's
it
go.
then?
So you've been sitting around in
Sitting.
the country that my ancestors
Sitting
built
around.
for about 20 years. Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made millions, according to your resume, off of this country.
Your ancestors have built other countries around the globe,
Yeah.
not just America.
Yeah.
This was a national world trade state of work across the globe.
Yeah.
That is how the world was developed, was through slavery.
It was.
So it wasn't just the West, boo-boo.
Yeah, she seemed like she just stuck on just the
It
slave
wasn't
that was
just the
built in this
West. I
country.
don't like her attitude.
And you have absolutely not been involved in civics. One, not voting, and two, let me just ask, because I know you mentioned earlier you don't want to sit around at the debate and talk about accomplishments. Let's make the accomplishments pretty simple. In high school, were you ever a class president or take any leadership role? Because
Who cares?
Chris Christie, he was the class president. So
Who
have you ever taken
cares?
any leadership at all on
I have-
anything, or just?
Can I just correct a couple factual things?
Thank you. Go
that
ahead,
are
correct
kind of
her,
important? My
please.
parents didn't.
And the man who's been, I'm
we
sorry,
gotta
I'm
let the
sorry,
video
I'm
go
sorry,
and
but
go.
the man who's been in office for 40 years is destroying our country. What
Bring
are you
me over to the
saying,
country.
lady?
I was
Okay,
born in
scratch
this
that off
country,
then.
and I'm proud
no,
of that.
No, I know
That's-
you were born here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio.
You mentioned my
I'm
parents
saying your
brought me
parents
o-
were immigrants.
You said-
My apologies.
That's all right. You said your parents brought you over to this country. I
Yeah,
thought I
my
would set
apologies.
that record straight.
I mean, they were
Get it
immigrants. But
straight.
let's not go down
Get
this
it
water.
straight.
No, we're not going to water. I just want to correct a couple facts, and then the
Get
other
it
thing
You
straight.
is,
were born here in Ohio.
I was
correct?
born in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's right.
Right. So
Yeah.
you've been here your entire life. So the question
That's
is,
right.
did you take any leadership role in middle school, high school, class president?
Why
I
does
did.
that
I
know you
matter?
played tennis. What is it? Explain it to us.
Student council, but I think that
Who
this
cares?
Yes, I've held leadership roles over my life, but those don't qualify me to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
kinda does.
It-
Well,
no,
kinda
it
does.
doesn't.
Well, I'm giving the test. I'm the test.
No,
of
it
the
don't,
All right, there
boo.
you go.
You
So
don't
it
know
kind of does
jack.
because when you go from saying I want to go to the highest office,
And I'll tell you,
of the land-
I've led companies as well. Is the other leader?
Right,
The
well,
main leadership
right, but-
role I've played is and I want to talk about one early part of your premise that I also want to say,
Mm-hmm.
to bring it to the country point. The other point, you use the word sitting around.
Get her.
I'm not
Get her.
somebody who's saying I want the next generation, my kids' generation, to have more civic duties when they graduate from high school and college than I did when I did. That being said, I wasn't sitting around. I've developed medicines, 5 of which are FDA-approved products today, one of which is a life-saving therapy in kids, 20 of whom die by the age of 3 if they're not treated, 70% of whom now live lives of a normal duration. Another one for prostate cancer. So I don't apologize
excuse
for
me,
making
sir.
contributions. But
right. Well, I don't want you to filibuster that
No worries.
because
Just
that's
not
not the
sitting-
question that I asked.
It doesn't
and
matter.
I don't consider as a veteran. I'm talking about service.
It
I'm not
doesn't matter.
talking
That is service.
It is service. Woman, just because you sat in the office at the Air Force Base don't mean you just did it big in the
Nothing,
military.
nothing. You
This man that made
chose-
drugs for the
Oh,
same,
oh,
for probably
please.
from one of your
Okay.
comrades, when your comrades' kids that didn't live. Nah, you being
were-
ignorant. You
yes,
think you have some.
ignorant.
You think you
That's
have some
the
kind of
word.
power, and you think you have some
Ignorant.
kind of pride that you can stand in
Ignorant.
to make this man look bad. But actually, he's done more
It's
than you.
making-
You just
yes.
joined the service, and that bless everybody who has joined the service. But don't make it seem like just because you sat up in the office and this man was making drugs that he ain't doing his thing.
Yeah.
about what you
Civic
did for
service,
profit. I'm not talking about what you paid people to do with
Yeah.
your
So
company.
I've
I'm
not
not talking
served.
about
I've not
that.
served
That
the
is
country
service.
in the
That
way
means
you have.
nothing
That
to
is
me.
service.
What I'm
That
talking,
is
what I am,
service.
to ask a question. She's been trying
Go
to ask
for
a
it.
question,
Yeah.
and you've been talking over her.
I'm
and
all ears.
We gave you the platform to let you say.
I'm
what
all
you
See, I
said.
ain't feeling him
I'm
either,
all
man.
ears. No, I was just
No,
correcting
she
a couple
hasn't had a chance
facts.
to
That's
ask a
all.
question yet. Every
Go
time
ahead,
she
Ted,
tries
ask
to
the
ask a
question.
question, you've been cutting her off. Good.
I'm all
I'm tired of you
so your
too.
question. So my question again is: you're trying to your goal is to raise the standard, and you're saying you want people to believe in country, and you want people to have civic engagement. And sir, I just find it very telling that you haven't had any civic engagement at all, and haven't been at all. And when I say sit around, I don't mean you haven't done anything. I'm talking about in regards to service.
That
Because
means nothing,
One thing
lady.
about political office, the same way that you want to change how people look at politics and look at this country, I want to change how people look at politicians. And when I see that someone hasn't did anything at all to be of service to mankind, to take a leadership role, it's not good enough to just be on city student council. Were you a leader? All of that applies.
Hit the pause
Have you
button.
been
I'm
able to
sorry.
get
No. Hit the
anybody
pause
in the-
button. We're going to get through this video, but I'm going to say what I need to say because I cannot stand ignorance with a doggone attitude. Here's the problem. What in the Sam Hill does you being in student council in elementary school, middle school, or even high school have to do with you running for cotton picking president? Not for me, nothing. And you were a veteran in the Air Force. Great. But that doesn't compare to a person who's running for president who could have done way research and him developing medications that save people's lives. That's not service. So what did you got paid for? You're saving lives. What does that mean? I can't stand
She
that.
got paid for being in service. You
Okay,
think who goes?
right.
Nobody goes to the military for free.
Right.
I ain't
And
met not one patriot that's you went to say I just want.
Plus,
who then don't
the long
then don't do
line,
take no benefits in the military.
The long line of benefits that come with being in the service, that come with
It's a
being
list.
after the service. But not only that, to me, by Trump being president and did what he did, faded all the people who were in politics before he even got in office. The
Right.
man was a businessman.
Yeah.
And that's why he can stand the way he stands, because he ain't trying to be friends with all these fake folk
Yeah.
who's supposed to know everything and have your back, but get in office and do opposite of what they say they gonna do. Sit down, lady.
The room at any time, from a high school gymnasium to Ohio, Republican leadership there to now. Have you been able to get anybody in a room to believe in this vision? I don't agree with a lot of your vision statement, but I do know you've been going around having these discussions and getting everybody emotionally worked up to talk about vision and debate. But I want to get to the
Emotionally worked
practical.
up.
You're trying to go from preschool to president of the United States. You're skipping over city council, county council, mayor.
He doesn't
governor.
need
You
that.
want to go straight
He
to the
don't need
top.
that.
So my question is:
Was
this a
Trump the mayor?
PR? Is this for the PR, the perception of reality, or can you point to any leadership where you've been able to get people to believe in what you're talking about that they're not paid to do on any of these vision statements that you have? If not, then to me it's a moot point, because you're holding a standard that you
Incorrect.
haven't met yourself.
Incorrect.
So if you're only going to count government service. You're
No,
absolutely
not government
right.
service.
Okay.
Student council in the 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th. Were you a leader? Did you do anything to?
He said he was already he did student council. He already said.
But my question is, even though, okay, so being a part of the student council gives you an idea of what these roles are and what they mean on a larger scale, but that's not your role.
Yeah.
You're going to play the role based off of whatever your brain can attain in middle school and high school.
Yeah.
So what in the Sam Hill does that have to do with you being an adult in these roles for the presidency?
It
No,
doesn't.
I mean, I hear what she's saying about service, but okay, still, no, that doesn't mean anything to
Rally
me.
anybody? Did you fight for better lunch? I did in the 6th grade with Miss Harris.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about government. I can go all the way back from the 5th grade
Who
every
cares?
year, sir. Because
Who
people who
cares?
are in service to this country, if you're going to go around saying you want people to believe in this country that I signed up to die for, then I want to make sure that you're holding that same standard. So not government, not political.
Boo.
Let's not get it confused.
You gotta
I'm
twist
saying,
it.
have you did anything of service
You gotta
that we
twist
can
it.
point to say he is a good leader, like Chris? And I'm not even a fan of Chris Christie, but he was the student council president in high school. So have you done anything of service besides yourself that has not benefited yourself? It's just a simple question.
So
Simple question.
the acts of service that I have performed are small, so small that I don't even want to talk about them to boast. But yes, have I volunteered for this country? Yes, I have. I've always
So,
been
like,
interested
well,
in
let's talk
healthcare.
about it. It's okay to talk about the
Bethesda
small
North, I
things.
mean,
I think
these
that
are small
matters.
things, right? But thank you.
No, well, let's just mention it. Just for
Bethesda
fun.
North Hospital.
Wait, yeah. So come on, jump on that envy and say, he ain't got to say his word. Hush up, whoever lady is. Please, he ain't say that. Ain't sensitive, man.
Really a no?
No, it's not a no. It's just something I don't like boasting about. I
Well,
volunteer.
we're not boasting. It's an
Not
interview.
boasting.
You're
There we go.
boasting on your vision and
Look,
everything else.
I think
you
one of the
boasted
things-
on the millions of dollars that you made. So let's just throw it
He's
out.
not
So in 6th grade, I'll
boasting.
give you an example. I'll help you out. In 6th grade, Miss Harris,
tell you-
Miss Harris
I can-
was Let me give you an example because maybe you're confused. In the 6th grade, Miss Harris was snatching papers from everybody in the classroom. So me as a 10-year-old, I went to the principal and said, "I'm tired of Miss Harris snatching papers."
I'm
And I
sorry.
worked-
I have to. Let's be clear. What you do in elementary, middle, and high school to me is freaking relevant. Irrelevant. What I want to know is, after you got a higher education, what has qualified you based off of your knowledge base, based off your character, based off of your integrity, and what are you fighting for presently? Whether you were in the student council, out of that, who cares what you
Care
did in
less.
hell? Girl, please. And this, to me, this is a broke mindset.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yes.
Completely. So what you fought for student lunch? Great. Wonderful. What does that qualify you to even question someone who's running for president, who runs circles around your little mind?
Yeah.
And I have to keep going back to Trump. Because Obama was a lawyer, right, prior to him going into office. And look what he did. He put the worst health care plan out ever. And he was the one that had all this knowledge. He was the one that was already in politics. Half of these people who were in Congress and legislature and in the judicial branch of government, the three governments,
Yeah.
executive, legislative, judicial, I learned in high school and in college. So, yeah, you should know that, bruh.
Organize the students around getting Miss Harris to stop snatching papers. Now, there was a consequence for that. I got suspended for 5 days for talking back, and I got in trouble. I got a spanking, and I was on punishment for months and months. But that is a simple way of organizing people. So I want you to kind of boast about it the way you did the millions of dollars and said what you did with the the pharmaceutical
Give me the
companies.
drugs. Give me the
What
pharmaceuticals.
leadership can you
Sorry.
point to that you've been able to rally anybody around anything that is of service that you did not pay anybody to do? I think that's important for the next president of the United States.
Sure. So I've always been drawn to healthcare. That's why I ended up founding companies in that space. When I was in high school, part of what drew me into it was that I was a volunteer at a local hospital. I actually became the leader of that group of volunteers that actually discharged women who had recently given birth. That was it. Nothing big to it.
Did you do anything we can point to stand
But,
out?
but I
that
want to
made-
say something about that because I say that in the book. If I'm being really honest, why did I do that in high school? A part of the motivation, I'll be just brutally honest with you, was part of the motivation was that's actually what allows you to get into a good college when you graduate. Is
Right,
you want to
so
check
it was
the box
about-
of
so
community
it was
service.
about you.
So
So
there
it
was
was
an
about
element. So
self.
there's and I'm admitting that in a way.
Let it play through, baby.
I'm sorry.
Let it get
I
a little
just can't
further.
take the ignorance. This really is blowing me. And I don't know anybody else that sat here and listened to this interview with her sounding as stupid as she does, and I don't like to call people stupid, but first, her attitude sucks. It really does. And if she really had more education and knowledge about the process and what the politicians does, I don't care if she's an independent or not. That means absolutely nothing to me. But just to even listen to what he's saying and to be able to put together, to attribute developing a medications, putting companies together, that's leadership. I don't get it.
I'm waiting for her next thing to say, what about 1619?
Way that
Okay.
very few other
I'm not
people
gonna
do, but I got to be honest
no
about it.
more.
That was a big part of why I did it.
Yeah,
Then when
it
I
was about
graduate-
self, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to give it back to the guys.
if I
I'm
can-
going to be honest about it with you.
Yep.
Leadership is not about self.
I agree
And
with
so
you on
what
that.
Well, then what's
I
going
agree
on
with
with
you
the
on that.
president
what
right
I just
now?
heard is that everything is about you, and to be honest with you, this is just a PR campaign, sir. To be honest with you, and I think you're trying to go further to the right because you want the Republicans to accept you as a man of color. And
Girl.
I think the only way you think you can do that is to be so extreme.
I appreciate your
with
opinion.
with your positions,
Thank
and I
you.
think you need to do a little bit more work in service. I'll give it back to you
Let
guys.
me
You failed the
ask,
test, by the
because she
way.
did ask me a question.
See, and what I don't like, she trying to jump off so he don't say nothing. It's just like somebody mama. You
It's
dealing with
like
somebody.
the woke movement. It's like the people
Don't
who
say
have.
nothing. You don't say nothing. I say what I
it's
say.
like,
You don't say nothing.
It's like people who have no solid facts because she didn't give no facts. She's talking about what the heck she did in middle school and high school. Who cares about that, girl? And you went to the service. Give me some solid facts as to what you did, what you've learned, what branches of government you've participated in. Have you ever gone down to the House to ever even talk to a politician? Have you even written a letter to a legislator to fight for a particular cause? Because I have. I'm the one that will call and talk to the Congress, to the legislators. I'm going to do my research, and I'm going to have whatever this cause is I'm fighting for. I'm going to be on the phone sending the emails, and they're going to call, and that's what's happened. So what have you done? What have you done?
Yeah.
What's the expectation? She doesn't have any expectations. How has he failed? She doesn't even know.
Because she's already has
She
an
has
assumption.
no information. She has no information. She's not giving any facts. The president in office right now is all about self. Many of the previous presidents we've had have been about self. That's why we couldn't get ahead. Then you got somebody who wasn't even in politics who got in politics. Faded these presidents.
Yep.
He wasn't perfect because I'm surely not putting him on no pedestal. There were several things that I didn't like. And I'm still zoomed in. But when it came to caring for the people, saying what was on his mind and putting you in place and getting things done because he's a deal maker, that's what he did.
Wow.
But did he run for the city council? Was he a mayor? Did he run for legislature? Did he run for Congress? Was he a Senate? Was he a state representative? No.
Nope.
And faded them all.
Question, and then you guys said you wanted to hear a response, but I think I heard an expression of opinion.
Yeah.
So just I want to make
It
sure
was
you're
an
all done before
opinion.
I respond to it.
It was an
No,
opinion.
just
Okay.
wanted to say that even then, I would still want you to point out, even at the
Yeah.
hospital, something that you did that
A lot of-
This
Girl,
probably the most
please.
one of ridiculous.
Interviews that they've ever done.
They
Shame
ever
on the
done.
Cotton Picking Breakfast
Yeah,
Club. This
shame on y'all.
this makes no sense.
That's
I just feel like
It's a black eye on y'all,
you know
man.
the mindset, but it just kind of clearly gives me a clear vision of the mindset.
Yeah.
If you aren't approving capitalism, then to me that's brokey, as Andrew Tate says. You're one of the brokies. Because capitalism is what lets your small business owners to your multi-mega billionaire companies gravitate and flourish in this country. That's what capitalism is all about. It gives each person an opportunity, no matter where you start, businesses online, to be great and wealthy. So if you aren't into capitalism, where people who have a dream, how did we get the iPhone? How did Oprah Winfrey become who she is? The list could go on and on and on and on.
Right. You're right.
And I think the Don Lemon's premise. What did he tell me on set? He said, "You can disagree with me when you have black skin and you've lived in this country, whatever ethnicity you are. Explain it to me." And I just reject that. I think we should.
Sir, let's just use
Sir.
a real example of just what everybody.
See, I don't like when women come out, but sir, it just seemed like you about to come with some ignorance.
I don't care. To me, I'm not impressed.
You said, people can have difference of opinion. They can have, you want to unite people. I gave you a difference of opinion as a veteran, and you came back and said that I was personally attacking you, and that is a way of
But you
gaslighting
were.
and basically, trying to set the idea.
That's like
that that I
not
was
true.
against
She's
you when
picking
I just
an
said
offense.
that's
Word.
the statement you made.
To
And,
me, that's
and
the
what
part-
I'm saying is,
yeah.
instead of us just having the debate, because see, I didn't talk about colors, which you probably expected when you came in here.
I did not,
I didn't
actually.
talk. I didn't.
And
well,
see, that's the thing.
that's
If
another-
it wasn't a
why would he
personal attack,
expect
okay.
co-
So if this wasn't a personal attack,
Why would he expect
then
color?
your opinion doesn't matter. We don't care about how you feel. We don't care about what you think. If it's not a personal attack, ask your question, let him respond, and move on. If it wasn't a personal attack, you wouldn't give all the additional ad lib about your feelings and your emotions. So it is a personal attack.
Yeah.
And don't nobody care about the service that you did. It's great. And I mean, I love that people will go and fight for our country and go to the service. But the way she's coming off about it, to me, she's making it seem like because she was in the service is more outstanding or has some validity to back up her statement versus him not being in a city councilman. What does that have to do with anything? His service has developed a billion-dollar biotech company that's saving people's lives. So if that's not service, if he didn't have a service in mind thinking about saving the lives of others,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
Yeah.
Great that you were a veteran. Great you chose to do that. Kudos to you.
Yeah.
And that's just really how I feel.
Yeah.
fine. I didn't talk about color. I didn't get all emotional about your vision because I really wanted to just talk about what you've done in service, because you yourself has raised service as the number one thing that what people need to do in order to participate in the country that my ancestors built. And you said that I personally attacked you. So just to give you some advice, if you're going to say, hey, let's have difference of opinion, let's be able to discuss.
I loved everything you did. I loved the whole
don't think
thing.
that because
It's
I
good.
had
This
a
is
question
productive.
that it was a personal attack, because
Oh, no,
It was a
I don't think
personal
the question- I
attack.
think this is great because you know what I said? What's
did
the
you
job?
say personal
What's
attack?
the
I just wanna make
job
sure I
is
heard correctly.
everybody
But you
needs
did.
to know
You did.
who a candidate is and what they stand for. That's the candidate's
Sir.
job. Whether you vote for them
When I
or
asked you,
not.
cut her
did you
mic
say
off.
I personally attacked you, or did I hear it wrong?
You
I
did.
think-
Cut her
You
mic off. She's
did.
being
You did.
you're being immature
You
on this
did.
interview.
You did, and you still talking
Cut her
about
mic
it.
off.
You know you did, because if you didn't, you would have moved past that. The point is,
Because she can't get past that
nobody
part.
cares about your feelings and
She
your
offended.
emotions. Yes, nobody cares about your feelings and emotions that you put in. And you gave specific examples of how you what you did in high school or middle school or whatever, 10th grade, whatever grade you was in, and that made you feel like you did some service. To me, that means absolutely nothing when it comes to being a president. I'm sorry.
Want to make sure.
I did not say you personally attacked me. No, I said we have actual good. I wanted to know whether or not we were actually able. You said sit around for 20 years. I said I didn't sit around for 20 years, but that's okay. I think that you know what? If somebody's running for U.S. president, I want to say this.
Well, you
If
did.
can't
Well,
handle
sir,
the
you
heat,
did
you stay
say,
out of the
quote,
kitchen.
you said,
So we'll come in
we can keep
and we'll
going
handle
with
the
the
heat.
personal
And I-
attacks. You
so-
did
Oh
say
my
personal
God.
attacks.
Yes,
Let's be
because that's
honest,
what you
and that's the
did.
number one thing.
Move
Yeah, and you
on.
still, yeah, and you're still doing it.
Move
What
on.
you said about affirmative action, because I feel like
It's fair enough.
without that legislation, I don't think black people stand a chance. We had to create the legislation to even have a chance, and I don't know why you have faith that without that legislation, things will be fair or on equal footing for black people.
I think that most people who benefit from affirmative action are the immigrants who came after Kennedy's immigration reform in the 60s.
Not the
They
black.
are not descendants of slaves. They are people who came as immigrants like my parents did. And so I just think it is a broken system to say that you look like someone to whom a bad thing once happened and you're going to be favored over someone who looks like someone who once did a
So you
bad
think your
thing.
parents would have gotten the same shot without that legislation?
I mean, so it turns out that Asian Americans, Indian Americans
Like you
don't
want to take away
benefit
something
from.
that benefited your parents, which directly benefited you.
See, here's what I'm saying is whether or not it's in our past, the question is how do we actually move forward as one nation? And I
Right.
do not believe it is with race-based quotas. I believe it is
It's
economically
not, bro.
empowering all Americans.
I
It's
think that
not,
legislation
bro.
was put here to protect people that look like me, people that look like you.
Oh,
I think
well.
they're ridiculous to want to get rid of.
Here's what I would
How?
say is Lyndon Johnson's Great Society that this was part of, right? So affirmative action was part of it. There was a broader set of policies designed to help black Americans, I think have been disastrous for black Americans and all Americans.
Well,
You
sir,
wanna-
it wasn't
Yeah.
disastrous for you. And what Charlemagne is saying is your parents benefited from it.
They
which
did
in
not. I mean,
turn-
as a point of fact, that's false. Indian Americans
well,
do
no,
not benefit from affirmative
that,
action.
no, that's not as a point of fact. No, that's not as a point of fact, because without the liberties that black folks have fought for, which has basically immigrants have been able to prosper in this country because of that. But we're not going to go there. Let's just say they benefited from being able to have the freedoms that black people.
And black folks sold themselves into slavery, boo-boo. How did we get over here? we in Africa sold ourselves to others for commodities so we could survive and keep being kings and queens over there.
Yeah.
As to other people around the globe.
Yeah. Correct.
Fought for. That's the bottom line. And then in turn, it benefited you. And then your answer a moment ago was, well, let's not talk about stuff in our past. See, once it
can't take her
benefited you,
anymore.
you were able, you moved on.
I
And
want to
see,
be
that's
honest
why
with
the,
you. Guys,
that's why,
let's get
that's
real.
why,
My parents
that's why
were.
the heart, that's why the heart of a certain,
laugh
no,
at
no,
her.
sir.
Laugh
at her.
Black people
Real
hadn't
test.
fought.
Laugh
we gotta
at
get
her.
real. My grandparents lived. They lived in a colonial society. Britain colonized where my grandparents lived as well. But I think that I don't do well by seeing myself as a victim of the white man.
That's
because
right.
Let's go.
actually
There we
Britain
go.
Right.
happened to have colonized where my
That's
grandparents
right.
were actually colonized.
That's
I
right.
think the word
That's moving the
No,
goalpost.
I
though.
think
We
the
talking
word
about what
victorious.
benefited your parents when they got here.
That's right.
What benefited all of us is the fact that we have a free country.
That's
Where
right. No,
what
Anybody is
benefited
free
your
to achieve
parents?
what
Yes.
they want. I don't know what they came to this country with not a lot of money. What benefited them was hard work and dedication. My
That's
dad
right.
faced layoffs when he was growing up at GE.
Right.
He went to law school at night to be able to keep his job. What did that
You
teach
think
me?
affirmative
Right.
action benefited them?
I don't think affirmative action benefited him.
That's
Absolutely
right.
not. I think
Well,
hard
when he
work
went
and
through a layoff-
dedication benefited him. And that's part of what I want to share with all Americans. I want to make this the country where no matter who you are and what your skin color is, you get ahead with your own hard work and commitment and dedication.
Yep.
That you get ahead not on the color
I
of your
wish it
skin,
was
but the
that
content
simple.
of your character.
It is that
and that's what I want
simple.
for America.
One
So-
It
more
is
thing.
that simple.
You told a voter that you were open to ending foreign aid to Israel. Then it was reported that it was a misunderstanding. What happened with that?
Yeah, it was. That was a false reporting, actually. So I think.
Oh,
that
you never said that?
No, I did not. I said that I was open to actually a broad strategy of disengagement from the Middle East. My general view is we fought a lot of pointless wars for a very long time.
Yep.
Ukraine's the pointless war of the moment.
Yep.
And I think that the United States needs to disengage
Yep.
from parts of the world if it does not advance American interests. China's the top threat that we face.
Yeah.
And we actually need to prioritize that in our foreign policy.
And wow.
All right. Well, we appreciate you for joining us.
I appreciate you guys having me.
How do I say?
Do
I
you
don't want
mean
to say your
that?
name right.
Huh?
Do you mean that?
I do mean that, actually, because we don't do this enough, right?
Yeah.
So I do mean that. And I will come back if you guys will have me when I'm in New York City.
absolutely.
Of course.
Because to your point, the Republican debates will be way worse. By the way.
Oh, yeah.
It's not
Chris
real. I
Christie.
mean, we got to get real with
I
each
can
other.
definitely tell you, Chris is going to ask about your background, so might want to start. Might want to start.
Who
volunteering
cares?
on your
Chris
free time.
Christie, is that the
I don't
man in
believe
New
virtue
York who
signaling.
got
I am who I
Yeah.
am. I'm
was-
an open
him.
book. We're all
Yeah.
imperfect human beings. We're an imperfect country. We aspire to be the best version of
Yeah,
ourselves.
that's not virtually signaling, no, sir. That's just a question, and you need to aspire to do something other than something that benefits yourself. That's all. If you want to say
Please,
you're going to serve the country,
please.
the president is a service role. It's
Here's-
not running a business. So
Here's the positive
service
I'll
is
give you.
important.
I think
yes,
your
it is.
message is
Yes, it
powerful
is.
for young Americans across
is a
this country to
business.
hear, and that's
No,
what
my
I'm gonna
message
take.
is right for
That's
you.
actually what I'm going to
Somebody
take from
that
this.
says- No, my message is for you
No.
because you're saying that people need to reach a certain
Yeah.
level of service to be able to vote in the country that my ancestors fought and died for. So my message is not for you. See, I don't do visionary messages. I do direct, straight shot. The host of Straight Shot, No Chaser.
And
My
have
message
you
for
have no
is, if
facts.
You're going to
You
require
need to get
people
more
be a certain age to
information.
vote. You should have been able to meet that. My message for you is if you're going to say
No.
that if you can't do that, if you can't pass the test, then you need to be able to provide service to your country. You should have been able
My
to provide
message
service
to
your
you is if
country.
you disagree with me, you don't have to vote for me, but I respect your view, and we need to actually
Yeah.
have a country where we need to have
no,
this debate in a
absolutely
way,
not
in a
voting
way
for
that
you. I
doesn't
just did an
personalize it.
interview. That's all. I just wanted to point out the discrepancies on your platform versus what you've actually done because
What
that
do I
does
want
matter.
for the
I'm not
country
listening
is
to
I grew up in
foolishness. I
this
can't
country,
listen to
and
that.
I want
want
to
this-
actually
I want this for
lead
you,
the next
though.
generation
I
to
want
be
this
proud.
for you.
Little
Well, I appreciate,
information.
I
I want it
appreciate,
for
I
you.
appreciate you wishing
want
that
this
for
for
me,
you.
and
I want it
I'm in
I'm
this
not
because
impressed
I actually want to give
anymore.
back to a country that yes has allowed me to
I listen
succeed
to
in
her
it,
way too
and I want to
much.
make
And I-
sure that the
and I
next
want you to
generation of
be a
Americans lives
leader.
that same dream. Thank you very
And
much.
as a veteran, I
appreciate
want
that.
you to be a leader, and I want you to serve this country before you tell everybody else they got to serve it. That's all. We just
All
have
right.
a difference of opinion.
I appreciate your opinion.
Well,
Thank you.
Is Vivek?
Thank you.
Did I say that right?
You wanna
It's
tell
Vivek.
Tell them where to
Vivek
donate to your campaign.
Ramaswamy.
Yeah, it's Vivek Ramaswamy. You visit Vivek2024.com. You'll learn more about the campaign, and if the ideas speak to you, then come on and sign up.
All right. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Appreciate it, guys.
The only one on there who had some real
Was
questions, who did a
Charlemagne.
little exactly was Charlemagne.
Charlemagne was the only one.
Charlemagne was the only one on there who had a little bit of knowledge base that really was able to ask some relevant points about things that are going on in the country. So I can respect him for that.
Man.
Affirmative action, no. And go look at some Time and Soul content, because he's talking about how affirmative action has really messed up a lot of black kids. They're getting pushed into colleges that they ain't even qualified to attend,
failing out.
and fail.
Just because I was black and I needed opportunity.
No, so no, just
You got some black people that's smart enough to get in there and stomp on
and
people.
If capitalism was not what it is today, why do we have so many multi-millionaires and black billionaires in our country?
Yeah, I
So
agree.
I mean, I'm
Envy
she
and Charlemagne
really-
are multimillionaires.
she really I'm
Sir. And every time she would say, sir.
not a personal attack. It
Sir,
was a
I just want to say,
personal
sir.
attack.
I'm like,
It was
anybody
a
else
personal attack.
anybody that sees out like that, they about to be a jerk.
It was a personal
You know.
attack. Because first, being the president is more than just service.
Yeah.
It's more than just service. Obviously, the one who's in office right now is serving himself.
Yeah, he getting paid
his
out.
whole cotton picking fan, his whole darn family is who he's been serving and who he's been focused on. And it's not even and currently it's not even. I'm not even gonna get on that rant, but it's not even showing you how fair our justice system is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because his son is getting away with a whole bunch of stuff. We already know that.
Right.
So service, no. If him creating these medicines to help people, and now I'm about to really dive in and do some homework on him.
Okay.
I am. But I
Okay.
know he's being talked about in a good way.
Yeah.
People are starting to zoom in on him now.
Yeah.
But I'm just disappointed because, you got to take your emotion out of it. And I know my emotion was all in this because I just can't hear. I just cannot listen
We're going to title
to
this
stupid.
Snapper throws her headphones down in reaction.
I mean,
Pissed.
because this is ignorance. He did service. You chose to go to the Air Force. Guaranteed you was thinking about yourself versus serving your country when you would be in the Air Force. I don't believe that one bit. You went in for your benefit.
Yep.
And anything anybody does is going to be self first and then someone else. And I
Always.
don't care who you are, what your role is, how much you might be a humanitarian. Bull. Self is the first preservation of life. You're going to look out for yourself, and then you're going to serve and see how others can benefit from what you do. Please.
All right, we're going to end it right on that note. I ain't got nothing to say, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't take a nosedive, but comment down in the section below. She is pissed if you want some more. We see you next one.